Creating a killer hook could be the difference between your video getting 3 views and 3 million views. And I know how insane this might sound, but you might be creating content that already has the potential to take off. But if you don't have a killer hook, all that potential is being wasted. Because think about it, almost every single successful creator got their big break from just one video. Well, this is because they know something that you don't. And that's why in this video, I want to break down exactly how to craft an irresistible hook that is so good that people literally have to watch the rest of the video. But why should you listen to me? Well, I've got millions of views on my content, hundreds of thousands of followers, you know, all that good stuff. And I even monetized this channel you're watching right now in just 10 weeks. I'm telling you, this strategy works wonders. So without further ado, let's dive into the video. Now, I want you to imagine that you are sat watching TV or watching Netflix, and you get to the end of an episode and they hit you with some crazy cliffhanger. And now you quite literally couldn't dream of doing anything else except watching the next episode. It doesn't matter that it's 2 a.m. It doesn't matter that you've got work tomorrow. You absolutely have to know what happens. Well, it's interesting because this is the exact psychological effect that we want to trigger in the hook of our videos. And that's why I'm not going to sit here and give you the top 50 hooks to copy and paste into your videos, because that's just not going to help you. We're actually going to dive into the psychology of creating a genuinely irresistible hook that will blow up your content. And I've used this system in a YouTube video that got almost 400,000 views, and it was the second video on that channel. I've also used this method in short form content that got millions of views. It is just super effective. And I call it the chain reaction hook. Now, the idea of this chain reaction is that each sentence in the hook creates curiosity and emotion that naturally sets off the next sentence, and then the next one, and then the next one. And you get this kind of chain reaction, and before they know it, the viewer is 10 minutes into the video and completely hooked. And the good news is it's actually incredibly simple to do this, because you only need 3 parts of a killer hook to set off that chain reaction. And each of these 3 parts of the hook has a very specific purpose. Because what this chain reaction is going to do is create a question in the mind of the viewer which they cannot answer. And when the viewer can't answer the question that you've created, they are hooked and they have to keep watching. So let's break this down then. The first step of a chain reaction hook is called the emotional trigger. Now, this actually brings up my golden rule of creating hooks, which is do not start off the video with information, start the video with emotion. Like, write that down or get that tattooed or something, because even that alone will change everything for you. Because at the end of the day, we are highly emotional creatures. Because even when we're just browsing YouTube and we think our brains are turned off, there's still a lot of subconscious emotional stuff going on. So that's why the very first thing that our videos need to do is to create that emotional interruption. But how do we actually do this? Because sure, if you're watching that Netflix show and you get to that cliffhanger, of course you're going to feel emotional. You know, you're invested in the characters, you're invested in the storyline. But how do we create that same feeling in the hook of our videos? Like, how is that even possible? Well, luckily there's a few ways to do this, but my absolute favorite, and the one I keep coming back to, is to create a 1-sentence story. So let's break this down. I think the single most powerful technique for creating emotion in your videos is storytelling. But we can't start off a video with a long, rambly story, because it just takes too long and it just kills any curiosity. But what we can do is start the video by condensing an emotionally charged story into a single sentence. Because this way, what you're doing is giving the viewer just enough context to get them hooked and create that emotional tension, and that tension is what keeps them watching. And I can even give you an example from my own journey. So the video that took this channel from getting literally 2 views a day to this actually used that 1-sentence story method. Creating content completely changed my life in just 90 days. And that was the first sentence of the video, and it gets the viewer asking a lot of questions. How did it change your life in 90 days? You know, how is that even possible? And then they end up watching the rest of the video to answer those questions. And this becomes so effective because now that we've triggered their emotions, we can then move on to the second part of the chain reaction hook, which is the promise. Now, this second part of the hook is so unbelievably simple, but it is crucial that you get it right. Because once you've triggered their emotion, we need to give the logical part of their brain a reason to stick around as well. And it's actually really simple. All you need to do is give them a concrete, tangible promise of what they're going to get out of the video. And this is actually something that all of the successful creators understand very well.
In this video, we're going to be discussing a simple 3-step method that you can use to totally transform your life in the next 90 days.
So today, I'm going to show you how you can replicate the wealthiest people's exact steps and make money work for you.
But how do we apply this to your videos? Well, the easiest way to do this is to say something like, so in this video, I'll give you X, or in this video, I'm going to reveal the secret to X, or something like, and by the end of this video, you're going to have everything you need to start, and then just whatever the video is about. And we want to keep it short, we want to keep it specific, and just make sure that they know exactly what they're going to get out of the video. Because if your promise is clear and compelling enough, and you've already hooked them emotionally, that is a killer hook right there. And I literally give a promise like this in every single video. But in this video, I'm going to show you. So in this video, I want to share with you, and in this video, I'm going to break down. And the reason I do it is because it just works wonders. However, there is still one last piece of the puzzle, because the third and final part of the chain reaction hook is something I call the value transition. Now, this is so interesting because I never hear any YouTube experts talking about this, but I see it in so many high-performing videos. It's crazy. And that is that right after you've made that promise, you need to give your viewer some sort of confirmation that you're about to deliver the value that you just promised. Because now we've built up all this momentum in the hook, we've created these emotional triggers, and we've given them this big promise. Now we just need to keep that momentum going. Because if your viewer thinks that they might have to wait for ages until they get the thing that they clicked onto the video for, then they're just going to click off the video. They're just going to get bored. So how do we actually do this? How do we bridge the gap between the hook and the main section of the video? So the value in the video. Well, one very easy, very beginner-friendly way to do this is to use a very simple title text screen. So let's say you've just promised your viewer that you're going to give them 10 brutally honest tips about how to lose body fat or something like that. You can then hit them with, okay, so the first brutally honest tip is to, and then just get straight into the video. And this way you're kind of saying to your viewer, right, no more messing around, the video's starting. And you're basically saying that I'm about to give you the exact thing that I just promised you. And finally, I know I've thrown a lot at you there, so let's bring this all together by watching an example from one of my favorite YouTubers at the moment called Nisha. And this is actually her most viewed video, so I'm not just cherry picking. So yeah, let's have a watch.
I have spent the last decade of my life immersing myself in the field of finance and money through a degree in finance, a qualification in accounting, and then a career in investment banking. And one of the most life-changing skills I have learned through it all is how to handle my own finances, recognize my bad money habits, and break free from them. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 9 of the most common bad money habits that hold people back and tips on how to break out of them. Number 1, paying yourself last.
And I hope you can see how perfectly that fit the structure. So this chain reaction idea. And yeah, that video has 10 million views, so clearly it worked. So now that we've looked at the 3 steps to create an irresistible hook, I actually want to dive into something equally important, which is what not to do in your hooks. And I've actually got a few of these, so we're just going to rapid fire through them. So number 1 is assuming your viewer already cares. And this might sound a little bit harsh, but just because you care about the topic of a video doesn't mean that your viewer does. Because someone watching your video doesn't owe you their attention. You have to earn it. And as you now know, the best way to earn a viewer's attention is to give them a clear and compelling promise and then actually deliver on that promise. Now, the second thing that you don't want to do in your hooks is saying it but not showing it. Now, if you remember the example I just gave when Nisha was telling her 1-sentence story, she edited in images of her getting her degree and speaking on stage. And this massively builds trust, all in the first few seconds of the video, because it just backs up what she's saying. So if you are telling a story about your life or a certain achievement or a certain experience you've had, you want to ask yourself, can I also show this instead of just saying it? Now, the third thing that you never want to do in your hooks is solving the puzzle too early. So remember that when it comes to your hooks, curiosity is key. That is the main emotion that we want to trigger. But if your hook already answers all the big questions in the video, then people will have no reason to keep watching because you haven't created any curiosity. And the fourth thing to never do when it comes to your hooks is making it about you instead of them. Now, I believe the single best piece of advice when it comes to content creation in general is to switch your mindset from how can I get more views to how can I be more valuable. But that mindset shift is especially important in our hooks, because when someone clicks onto your videos, they are basically thinking, is this video even worth my time? So your job is to answer that question immediately in the hook, which is exactly why that promise part of the chain reaction hook is so powerful, because when people feel like a video is made for them, they will stick around. It's as simple as that. And on that note, if you are in the early stages of your journey as a creator, I actually make this video right here where I give you some pretty brutal advice that I wish someone had given me when I was first getting started. So yeah, click onto that video and hopefully I'll see you there.